6:32, we'll call this meeting to order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we can start with, does anyone have any adjustments to the agenda that we need to add now?
Nothing from me.
Paula, Ray, Sunny? Okay. I don't know if you want to start, if you want to wait. It's probably like 3 minutes now that Daryl's going to be here. He'll just come in and join us if you want to start. So you don't have to. Yep. So she needs to be able to hear herself in the speaker too, right? To know that it's like that we can hear.
Is
Yeah.
it turned on?
Okay, the green is on, so I think we're all set. I know most of you, but Ray, I'm Mary Martin. I'm chair of the RSU 16 school board, also represent Mechanic Falls, and also member of the task force that I'm going to talk to you about tonight. And Jess is with me, who is a member of the task force and also on the school board, and Terry, who is the representative that you chose to represent Mechanic Falls, and Tasha's on the task force. So first, I want to thank you for the opportunity to provide you with some updates on kind of our work so far, and then kind of what I think our next steps may be. Last time Jess and I were here, we talked to you a little bit about the community forum that we had in April. And out of that community forum, there were some areas that were identified as need areas and things that we needed to spend some time on. And they were teacher shortage, our transportation and driver shortage, our aging buildings, and some of the inequities that we have school to school in terms of class size. We also talked to you a little bit about the heating bond that we had out there, and that bond did fail in May. And out of that, at the next school board meeting, the board asked administration to form a task force and to look at how we might address those issues that were identified in April. And as part of looking at those issues that were identified in April, came up with out of those came 4 possible scenarios to deal with those issues. And that's what the task force started looking at when they started meeting in June. They met June through August, actually met 10 times. So there were lots of meetings. In addition to that, there were field trips to each of the schools to look at the facilities so that the task force could get a sense of what the issues were, and all the things that we did along the way, including the field trips, you can find on our website. So you can kind of get a sense of what all of that work was. And in addition to the meetings, we also had some subcommittees. There was one called functional capacity. And what that did was look at each of our buildings and try to figure out what are the needs within those buildings, those facilities, but also if we looked at those 4 scenarios that we had, how they would be impacted. We also had a public relations and a communications subcommittee. And then in addition to that, there were work groups that looked at community survey that we did. The group also did some research in terms of educational research about what were the best configurations for grade levels, and it's also some research around transitions. Also looked at if there was any available state funding out there. And then the task force also met with the school board, did a presentation at our August meeting, and also met with us in a workshop. So the 4 scenarios that we had, which identified configurations, grade level configurations, and what really looked at our 3 elementary schools. And those 4 scenarios have now been narrowed to 2, and those are recommendations that the task force will take to the school board only as a recommendation. And those are looking at our elementary schools. The first one is to fund, fix, and staff our 3 elementary schools, which is Poland Community School, Elm Street School, and Minot Consolidated School. And the next one, the second scenario is to look at the possibility of closing Minot Community School and fixing and staffing Elm Street School as a pre-K through 2, and PCS, Poland Community School, as a 3 through 6 school. So those are the 2 recommendations that the task force has identified to bring to the school board. And they're going to do that on September 11th. There's still lots of work to be done. Narrowing it to 2 now allows us to get, and the task force to get, more specific estimates and information about impact. The task force will do a presentation to the school board, as I said, on September 11th. And then I would assume these are some of the steps that would come from there from the board. The board, I'm sure, will want to know what other supports and information they need, whether that's quotes, costs, impacts. We have 3 subcommittees, our school board does. There's the operations subcommittee, so I'm sure they'll be looking at the facility piece of it. Also looking at transportation, heating, ventilation in terms of those scenarios. Our educational policy will be looking at strategically how we move forward with whatever plan we have. And our finance committee will be looking at just the costs and available funding. Also, as part of that is, I'm sure we'll have a public relations and communication plan. And when we think about when does all that need to be done, if we're thinking about next year, it really needs to, that planning needs to be done by December in terms of figuring out all of the impacts in terms of operations, staffing, other costs. So we've got a lot to do this fall. There was a lot done in the summer. I would encourage you to look at the RSU 16 website, because everything that I've talked about, every detail is there. If you have specific questions, we will attempt to answer them tonight, or at least tell you where you can find that. And I'm sure Tasha may have some things to add, and Jess and Terry, if there's anything.
Found a replacement for the transportation director yet?
We do have a new transportation director, yes.
Okay.
Yep. Tasha, I don't know, you've been really involved in this process. So.
They've been immense amount of work and like kind of weeding out, people have a lot of it. And so this report. They have condensed it down a lot from all of the original options. And with each scenario that was taken away, they said why. There's reasons why, whether it be cost or what it didn't address. So it's very helpful for the people who thought a certain one was the way it should go. And I feel like they've done a really good job so that the community can understand what's going to be happening, because ultimately it's going to be the school board who decides how they want to proceed. And then obviously the towns will be funding it, or hopefully some other funds as well. But I hope to be doing more on the PR end once they decide what they're going to do. So, because I did join late.
Yeah. We certainly have appreciated your input. It's been valuable. Jerry or Jess?
I just add,
Yeah, we're microphone dependent.
I just think that you guys have a lot of say in the community as far as getting information out and sharing information. And I think that if you guys got on and went through everything that's on the website so that you really understood what we're doing and what we're trying to do and why we're doing it, because frankly, it's going to be a lot of money. It's no matter what we do, it's always money and there's only so much money. So I think that if our town councils and the school board, if everybody can get really up to speed with it and help with the PR part of it, we're gonna have the pockets that like it and the pockets that don't. So I'm not saying PR, like, please go out and plug this. I'm saying just so you can answer questions and you can, tell people why we're doing the things we're doing. And there's videos on there that literally show you, when I started on the task force, I was absolutely ignorant of a lot of the things the buildings needed. Everybody knew about the boiler in Minot, broke down last year, but they had like 6 floods as well, that there was mold, and there's so much more in the videos we took you, room to room that the issues were in, to show you what the issues were and to show you what was being done. So it's just helpful to be able to answer as community members start wanting to know, because it's going to come down to the dollars. So that's all I had. And I just wanted to add to the transportation director, they are fully staffed for bus drivers too. So the goal is no canceled groups this year. Yay.
And thank you again. We appreciate the opportunity to come and talk with you, and we'll be back.
Thank you. Do you have questions? No.
Just one more thing. On our website, you can subscribe to the newsletters related to this topic. So that's a great way to stay informed. Amy sends out really well-written summaries every time there's a meeting, so you can follow along that way. But we just implore you to please find out more. If you have questions, you can ask any of us, but we're just looking for your support and advocacy, because like Terry said, there's going to be people that are unhappy no matter what we decide. And our meeting next week, our school board meeting, is next Monday night at the high school in the library, and it's going to be huge. That'll be the presentation and that'll be all the discussion. So if you were going to watch online or attend in person, that would be a good meeting to really hear a deep overview of what, these final 2 options include and don't include. So thank you all. 6:30? 6:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to 6.2, public hearing for the liquor license for Daddios, the new restaurant. Looks like they passed their last inspection and looking for this.
Yeah, so what you have in front of you tonight is the liquor license for Daddios. And of course, we need to do a public hearing for that. I would have you just go ahead and open up the public hearing and see if anybody's got
Okay.
questions or not.
Well, we don't have anybody online, right? Nope. Okay. So does anyone have anything to say about Daddios having a liquor license? Do they have one in Oxford?
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
Well, if no one has anything else to say, we can close the public hearing.
And for the next public hearing, we can table that until October. I
Okay.
was hopeful that the GA, the new state guidelines for GA, the maximums would be out in time for this meeting. And so when I posted the agenda last week, I was hoping that in the interim, I would receive the new maximums. I did not. And so that will be an item on your October agenda.
Okay, then we can move to 7.1, consideration and discussion for the Daddios liquor license. Is any questions? I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the liquor license for Daddios at 5 Pigeon Hill Road in Mechanic Falls.
Second.
All those in favor?
We table 7.2 as well.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay, does anyone want to accept the minutes for the general reports? Was there 2 meetings?
We had a special meeting.
Yes.
Yep.
I make a motion that we accept July 17, 2023 and August 1st, 2023 minutes as written.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Oh, that was the minutes for those meetings. Now the monthly reports.
Make a motion, we accept the department monthly reports as submitted.
Seconded. Who was the second? Right?
Okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
We can open it up for public comments. 3 minutes. If you come up, please state your name and your address.
Jessica Smith, 13 Perkins Road. I am here as a representative of the Community Day Committee now. We had our event the first weekend in August. Were any of you able to attend? Maybe. Okay. We are thrilled with how the event went. We had great attendance, great participation from local groups. Our committee raised a little over $1,200 after all of our expenses were paid. So that was a pleasant surprise. We have a lot of photos on Facebook. If you've seen our Facebook page, I believe there's a link on the town's website to our Facebook page. There's a lot of pictures. You can see the vendors and the performers and the parade and all the floats and things like that. So we had a good group of volunteers, about 14 people attending the meetings to help plan and then volunteer at the event in the different stations. And there's a lot of ideas and energy for next year. We had a wrap-up meeting in August, like the week after the event, to kind of go over what went well, what do we want to try to do differently, and who else can we reach out to. We had music performers. Like I said, the parade was very popular. A lot of our vendors were asking to book again to come back. So for the vendor area, that was always exciting to see when people want to come again. We found that people in general came and stayed for the duration of the event until it rained. We were hoping to go until 3, and at 2 it started raining a lot. So everyone just right at that point. But in the past, we've had people kind of trickle out, like after the parade is over, people tend to leave. And this year they really stayed. So we felt like we had a good balance of performers. Many of the community groups did well with their own fundraising. The church had a yard sale, project graduation, sold pancakes. A lot of them sold out. The lobster rolls, the fried dough, things like that, out of everything that they brought to sell. So that was indicative of it being a success in our opinion. So we just wanted to close by saying thank you all for your support. Especially Paula, who was our representative and came and helped us a lot. We would like to request, if it's appropriate, and I don't know, if we could have a page for our committee in the town annual report to just kind of remind everyone that this is the committee of the town and this is the event, that takes place in the summer to kind of raise awareness. That was one request. And another idea we had was to inquire about the process to submit a budget request for funds from the town to put forward to our event for future years and what the timeline for that would be. I'm not sure when the budget season begins for you all, but if we were going to put forth a request, we were just curious about the timeline for that. And then lastly, our next meeting is January 31st, 2024. And have any of you heard any comments or feedback from the 31? Yep. From the community or anything to let us know what went well from your opinion or anything we could do differently for next year?
Only thing I heard was, is the Legion going to bring back their barbecue?
We can only ask. We can't make them.
Okay, so she said the page in the annual report, is that something that we
Yeah,
have to decide, or is that
I
a?
think that's a slam dunk. That should be
Okay.
no problem.
Okay.
Janice is in charge of that, and we'll make sure that if I know Janice, she's already got sights on that.
Okay.
'Cause
What's the timeline for that?
She takes great pride in that annual report. Timeline, it'll be after the first of the year to April, somewhere in
Okay.
through there. So I think, as your committee, it's, going again, and of course Nancy will be a nice tickler as well, but, I think, yeah, that, I'm sure it's an automatic already in Janice's mind.
Okay, thank you.
And in terms of the budget,
Mhm.
so I get serious with the initial budget from my purview during the months of December and January. And then we take it to the budget committee during the month of February, early March with the budget committee and the council. And hopefully by the early April meeting, we get things well in hand. So you got plenty of time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, and one other thing that they brought up is they're considering in some way honoring the veterans because nobody, including Nancy, and it was Nancy Peterson's idea, could remember this town ever doing that. So they're looking towards a veteran, honoring the veterans in some way. So any input would be greatly appreciated from anybody.
I do have a question. Are you staying with the same timeline, like the beginning of August?
Yeah, for right now, that's what we're planning. It seemed to work really well rather than trying to have it right at graduation weekend, right at the end of the school year.
There's no more comments from the public. We'll close those. And we'll go to council comments. I was going to talk to you about my time on the task force, but thank you very much, Mary. She did that. She's updated you to pretty much where we're at right now. I would encourage you to go onto the website or come to the meeting because Amy does a great job guiding it through so that everyone stays on task and on time, and it's very clear and concise. So it's not. It's a lot of information, but it's very well presented and kept together. So I think it's a good, I think this presentation to the school board is, this is what all the work has been, to present it. So if you can come, I will be there. Any other comments or questions? Okay, you're up, Vic.
Alrighty. Seems like a while since we met.
It has been.
It has been. And so I've had several irons in the fire to different degrees of heat. And the first one is one that's about to go into the fire. So last year, Efficiency Maine had a deal where for about 50 cents, you could get high grade LED lights, and we outfitted the Public Works and Fire Station. And as I turn a lot of my attention to this building and working on various different projects, I take a look at our light bill for this building. Actually, it's for the two buildings. And I'm trying to figure out ways of shaving that down. And so it makes sense for us, I think, to begin a project working with Efficiency Maine to upgrade all of these buildings' lights to LED. And so I'm going to begin that conversation working with the company ESM. And you'll hear ESM a little bit later on when I talk about the generator. And as a matter of fact, they said when they were here, they asked me about that. And I said, well, this project, good timing, good timing to ask. So anyway, so updating the lights, they would come in and do an assessment and then do us a proposal. And then we would decide if it's something that we want to do. So I'm just introducing this topic. Okay. To me, it makes total sense. IB Controls at whatever meeting recently, you guys gave approval to use ARPA dollars to upgrade the heating systems mastermind control puppet master thing. And so since that point in time, I've had several emails and a couple of phone conversations with IB Controls. They're on it. They've been slam dunked actually with a lot of schools is the feedback that I've received. And between that and ordering the equipment that we need. So it's really a long way of saying nothing's done yet. However, we're right there on the doorstep. I'm really pushing them to get it done before the heating season begins. So that's that update. Bay Door project. So back when it was dark, cold, and lonely, you guys gave approval using, again, ARPA dollars to retrofit the bay doors for Public Works and then for the fire station as well, with John Robert through Robert's Doors. And he's had a bunch of setbacks, but I'm happy to report that the Public Works bay doors are now complete. And next week, if all goes well, he'll begin on the fire station doors. And so they've really being pretty well retrofitted. And so that project hopefully will be done in another few weeks. Chimney repair and pellet silo. This is a story where you decide you want to change the drapes and then you're looking at the wallpaper and the carpet. And unfortunately, this situation is a really expensive one. So I had a gentleman by the name of Jay Verrill come over and give me an estimate for the chimney that's out back here to as a part of the report that we got last fall. That was one of the projects that we should be doing, as get some mortar issues up there and need some love and attention. So he gave me a quote for $9,200. And so I was going to, because we've had such a gap in time, organically kind of fill you in on that tonight. But then in a follow-up phone conversation, he said something that altered my thinking. He said, Vic, he said, because of that pellet silo, he says about half of the quote is for renting a lift in order to do the work. And so then Scott and I had a conversation. If we could move the pellet silo, maybe I could make 9,200 look more like 4,000 or 5,000, which interests me. And so Scott and I have had a couple of loose conversations, and I told him that I wanted to have at least a loose conversation with you folks, because if we unbolt it and we hook onto it and they drag it off to the side, that's one way of doing it. You guys may say to me, well, Vic, we don't want to do that. We want to try to sell it first. Maybe there's a market for a pellet silo. I actually reached out to John Hawley, and John said, no dice. They don't need a pellet silo today. And so for me, until I have either solid direction from you folks or a solid game plan that I'm comfortable with, I'm going to slow play this. In talking with Scott and everything, the chimney and all of that should be okay for this winter. So even if it's a project next spring. So we do have some pellets that's in that silo. So it's really one story becomes two stories. The pellet silo, getting rid of it, how do we go about it, is really a whole thing. And if we're going to do the chimney, I strongly would advocate coming up with a storyline that gets rid of the silo and save the town. I mean, even if we spent $2,000 getting rid of the silo, we'd still save a couple $1,000s by doing so. So it's not really prime time ready to bring to you with a final solution, but I guess I'm looking for some tea leaf reading. If we muckle onto that thing, unbolt it, muckle onto that thing and haul it off to the side, are any of you going to go, oh my God, what the heck are they doing?
Not me. I'd help to do it.
You know,
There's not a market for it. No one's going to necessarily want it.
well, there could be. I mean, if you Google pellet silos, you'll come up with a bunch of things. Most of them are micro compared to this.
Mhm.
If you do, farmers silos, then that's more representative of what we got,
Mhm.
and because I know nothing.
Marketplace.
Right.
Yeah.
What a marketplace, Uncle Henry's.
So
But we
So-
don't need it.
no, we don't need it. As a matter of fact, My full assessment on this whole pellet story is it never really worked and it hasn't worked for 6, 7 years at all anyways. And so we're getting rid of it. I mean, there's
How
just,
full is it?
so the silo itself, if you go out back and you take a look, it actually has little windows in the silo. And so if you look at the bottom window, you will see that the pellets come about halfway through that window. So I would say it's about 20-25% full, which is a question. What are we going to do with the pellets? Do we just say some Saturday, hey, if you want free pellets, show up and grab a bag? Or I mean, do we deal with that at all? I mean, how, and because you can't guarantee that they're good, those pellets have been in there for, well, since probably
8-10 years.
yeah, something like that, right? You
Yeah.
know, maybe they're
it's sealed.
pristine, maybe
It's
they're
sealed.
good. I don't know. You'll talk to me about that
I'll
project.
talk to you about that project.
Okay.
Connections.
All right, good.
Okay,
good.
so that's some reading of the tea leaves.
Yeah,
Well, I was gonna, yeah.
so it's
Can you
like,
talk to all of us about what you're thinking?
I'm gonna explore my connection first, and I'll discuss that with Vic, and we can have that conversation with the council after I've got a positive direction for it.
Okay,
Because I know somebody who may want that.
okay.
yeah,
and-
and if
And
they,
pellet,
and it would make them a hell of a deal if it's cash and carry.
well, it's a farmer. It's a
Yeah,
farmer.
you know,
It's-
I mean, it
I
looks
use it.
pristine, right? You know,
I'm looking right at it.
besides, you might want it for your spread.
I might.
Okay, so that's good that you put it out there, because if
Yeah.
you don't need it, it would cost, could potentially cost us something to get rid of it, but possibly not.
Well, and it's metal. If worse comes to worse, we could have them haul it off for metal scrap.
Well, I had thought about that, but everybody I've talked to said it's it's galvanized and steel, and it's not really worth all that much. I don't know.
I really think if you put it on Marketplace or in Uncle Henry's, you can sell it.
Yeah. For me, though, it would be like we could unbolt it, right? I have Scott and the boys unbolt it, and then it'd be cash and carry from there, you know?
Right.
Or we haul it off to the side. And if we haul it off to the side, then I also have to think about insurance issues. And so it's not a fully developed plan because the carpeting got in the way of the drapes, you know?
I would not, I personally don't think we should unbolt it until we have a home for it.
Yeah.
Because if you unbolt it, then it becomes a liability.
Yeah. So,
Somehow somebody ran into it, knocked it over, like whatever.
and honestly, I'm happy to have the runway of the next several months, just kind of coming up with a game plan and making this a springtime project.
Oh.
Yeah, and so if you go out back and you take a look, you will notice the chimney is right there. And if you look up, you will see the disrepair of the chimney. So it does seriously need some love at some point,
But the
but
chimney can wait.
Concrete.
what's that?
Chimney, correct. It's brick chimney.
Yeah, it's a brick chimney. Yeah,
Is it in double lined or?
Yep, yeah.
Double lined?
And the pellet stove unit has its own
Jim.
liner compared
it's
to
a
the
double-
regular heating system.
So it's a double flue.
Yep.
Okay.
Is
Yeah.
it just the exterior that's disrepair,
Well, it could, well,
or is it gonna need liners?
Maybe. it needs
no,
to be
we're not going to
repointed.
need any liners. The liners are okay.
Needs to be repointed.
Yeah, yeah. And so if you have, you know, further interest, I have the quote on my desk. Be more than happy to share it with you.
Is that
Uh,
something we are required to put out for a RIF? You know, take,
I think it's
Take
under your
bids on?
jurisdiction, isn't it?
Is it something we're required to what?
get bids on.
Oh, so if
Well, what's the cost? of
yes and no, it depends upon the dollar value, right? So I thought it was 7,500, but I actually looked at our personnel policy. So I have authority to spend up to $15,000. Anything over that, you guys need to approve, okay? So depending upon the level and the circumstance, availability, blah, 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 that dictates how many bids, if any, or whatever I got to get, okay? So, you know, like I said, I started to explore this. I got the one bid from Jay. And then I had the follow-up conversation of which I've just told you all about. So
Okay,
that's
but
as
so
far
you
as I've got.
About the chimney?
I get it.
Or you're
Yeah.
asking
Good
about the
guy.
same
For getting the repairs
Oh,
done, I was under the impression based on our charter, anytime we needed any work done, we were required to
No,
put it out. for
charter,
bid.
charter does not speak to that. The purchasing policy does. And you can, I mean, we can update the purchasing policy at any point in time, but it goes through the various different levels. It was one of the first things that I brought to you guys when I
Yeah.
got here. 2 years ago
2 years
tonight.
ago, yeah.
Oh, really? Is this the
Yeah.
was your
Yes,
birthday?
it
2
is.
years? Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Time
We share an
flies.
anniversary together.
So anyway, so more to come.
Okay, so you'll have conversation about that. You'll
Sure.
get some more options to
Yeah.
on the table. But you could say, you could decide that you have a buyer for it and it makes sense and bring it to us and be like, we have someone who's gonna come take this away for this and it's.
Yeah.
That could happen. Okay, so
That's,
I'm gonna let you do your
Yeah.
thing and.
and
bring us-
worst case scenario, Scott will just hook on and drag. That's the
Cause
worst
it's,
case.
because
scenario.
currently it's not doing anything for us. It's just taking up
Yeah,
space. We
right.
don't need it. If
No,
we could sell it, that's great. If we can just get rid of it, that's also great. If we could get money for it.
all the
even
better. Yeah.
Cause maybe we
Yeah.
can get rid of that and then put it towards the chimney repair.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I mean, obviously it goes into the different budgets,
Yeah,
but.
yeah.
Offset some. Okay, perfect.
So more to come.
But the chimney is okay this year. It's
Yes,
not a-
it's, yeah, we're confident that it's okay, but it does need love. Because when the boys, when Jay and his partner were here, we actually went downstairs, we opened it up from the basement and they looked up and, you know, everything. It's not like it's, oh my God, you know, so. All right, which leads us to the next subject, generator. So last we spoke, I brought you guys a conversation that said, we have this generator out here, and because of a project of deciding what to do about the oil tank that the gentleman suggested we swap out, and Jay Bryant and Scott, after doing their research, said, no, let's leave it as it is. I said, okay. But Jay says, I've never made a delivery other than the initial delivery 20 years ago. And I'm going, huh? It's used a third of tank of oil in all these 20 plus years. Well, how often does the generator come on? Apparently not very often. And Scott tests it once in a while. It's a manual thing. It's not on demand. And so I brought to you the concept of finding out more information to make a more informed decision. So I scheduled an appointment with the folks from ESM because I think it was Jeff said that he thought they were the ones who put it in. And so I just reached out. They showed up. Scott and I spent an hour or so with them, took them all around. And so they're in the process of getting us a proposal for basically upgrading the generator, taking that away, what's out there, updating one, and making it on demand, because what it is now is not on demand. And that generator serves both buildings in theory, except this floor.
That's
So
weird.
they're going to give me a quote. They're going to give us a quote for a generator that will handle everything and be on demand. Now, here's the good news. I will go fishing in the waters of trying to get a grant for part or all of this. And I went to, in the last couple of months, the Androscoggin County Emergency Management Agency had an all-day workshop seminar thing that I attended as part of the hazard mitigation plan stuff we got to do. And the outcome of that was they had a bunch of speakers, and a couple of the speakers specialized in grant offerings. As a matter of fact, I spoke to Danielle from Minot. She had recently done this in the town of Minot. Got a generator from them through the grant process. And they said that day that if you use the generator for emergency situations, and once in a while, and above and beyond Elm Street, I believe, we use the fire station for a warming place. And so between me, the grant people, whoever else I can get involved in this, depending on how the quote comes back, I will fish in those waters and see what we can do. It will probably be a process. I mean, no harm, no foul. Whatever we got, right? But that's an update as to where we're at. We have moved the football, and And hopefully over these next several months, we can make something happen. Next one, traffic light at Five Corners. So anecdotally, I got a citizen complaint a while ago. And I believe that same citizen also contacted the state. Because while I was away on vacation, the state contacted us. And Lisa said that I was away, and the person from the state said he spent some time over at the Five Corners lights, and there are some issues and that we need to get it fixed. So when I got back, I reached out to someone, and they showed up that day. They fixed the problem, found a couple of other problems that there's a couple of buttons that need to be updated, and it's an important intersection for students and everything. So I want to make sure the push buttons are working. Right now, a couple of them are not. And so we will get that taken care of. And so I just wanted to update.
Why
you.
is that our responsibility? It's a state highway.
So the state has this thing. They do this very often, like they did with the one in town here. They will put them in and then rely on the municipality to do the ongoing maintenance. If a light goes out, like when the car hit the pole here in the intersection, right? It's the town's responsibility. Believe it or not, that's not totally settled yet, but the pole's back up, right? So it's the town's responsibility to take care of that. And so I'm chasing those rabbits. And
What was wrong with the light
so
besides the button?
somebody, if you were there at the wrong time,
You sat for a long
you
time.
sat a long time before the light
Mhm.
would switch so you could
I know
go.
about this.
Okay.
It's a camera-
Everybody.
So,
noted that.
camera activity.
but it's the sort of thing where if you go over, 99% of the time it's working, right? So it was actually a software issue.
Oh,
And so the dude that came over, went through everything, took out, it had some wrong software commands in it. And so he fixed it right up. And so I was very thrilled he came out that day. I mean, this is the 21st century. That doesn't happen,
so wait, that was in the past couple of weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So since I got back from vacay,
Okay.
yeah. So we'll spend a few more $100 getting the buttons fixed. So I just wanted to give you an update. Okay. All right. That's all I got. Back to you.
I have one
That
question
should have
about
gone
the,
Back to the state.
Hmm?
That should have gone back to the state as a defect.
In this particular instance, no. The state makes you late this afternoon. I got the actual contract that the town of Mechanic Falls signed in 2016. That shows that we have perpetual care and maintenance of the traffic light. And am I happy about it? No. But
If it's
that's,
an original defect, they should be responsible.
yeah,
for it.
no, it wasn't original. It was they had some issue years ago and somebody tried to fix it and it didn't work out, apparently. Just
Original
saying.
defect.
Yeah.
I have a question about the generator we currently have. If your fishing works out, is there any way to get any money for the one we currently have? When we do the upgrade from the company who's doing the upgrade, do they buy back generators or?
Oh,
anything like
I
that?
asked him about that. Probably not. I mean, it might be another, what'd you say, marketplace? It might be another marketplace.
Municipal Association sells used equipment.
So there could be an alternate outlet for something like that.
Okay, but they won't like take it back.
No, I
and
asked them
give
if
us
they'd
a
take it in on
percent.
trade, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Yeah. So I should be receiving that proposal anytime now. Let's see.
Is the generator outdated because it's older, or is it still in decent shape because it hasn't been used? Or like, I don't know how that, I mean, I can only imagine.
Well, if
it
you
was
want it
20
to
plus
be
years.
on demand and to handle everything,
Mm.
they're saying it's not, it doesn't have enough.
Yeah.
And so this generator, as I understand it, was put in as a result of the ice storm, just after the ice storm. And so when they did it, they wanted, I guess, in order to, I think it was probably grant dollars at the time, I don't know. But because it serves both the public works and fire station, so emergency personnel, and they got it serving upstairs police, and they intentionally left off this floor. Because I don't think it had enough.
I was gonna say, that's quite a generator that'll handle those three things. I'm thinking a generator to replace all that and then add on to this.
Yeah.
Is going to be really.
Yeah, it's not gonna be cheap.
On demand.
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, we can do nothing
Well,
and
right.
we haven't lost anything, right? So I'm just
It's
exploring.
great if it just keeps it on. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but unless you get a tremendous amount of grant money, you're talking a lot of money.
Yeah,
I don't even wanna.
yeah. I think because,
Guessing how much that is, but I gotta figure in my head.
I think because of the warming center and those are emergency
Right.
and we
Well,
got
and they have
PD.
the, like, for the public works and for the fire, those, we need to, those,
Yeah,
they can't get out unless they have power.
yeah. Yeah. So,
And there are backup pumping stations.
Right.
so
Well,
I'll,
good,
I'll go
yeah.
fishing and we'll see what happens.
I'd be willing to bet that in the EMS thing, the fire department is for an emergency shelter, correct?
Yes.
'Cause
I
the-
do know
the
that we-
church is actually the thing for the school,
Yeah.
the Vineyard Church.
So me speaking without really knowing what the heck I'm talking about, it seems to me like Elm Street is kind of like the lead place for this sort of thing. And then the fire station is kind of like a backup for this sort of thing. All right. So anyway, so any more questions? Okay.
So are you all set then? Are you all, you're
What-
done with your town manager report?
Yeah, all
Okay,
set.
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can move to new business. The town road signs.
Another project.
Yes.
It's in the middle of the fire. So we've been dealing with this on and off for a little while. I've actually been stagnated on this. Working on some other things and not in my own mind deciding for me which way I think we should go. So in the interim, what I thought, so the top page is a new page. I reached out to the sign store and asked Jerry to give me a welcome Town of Mechanic Falls and one without it with a thicker green border. If you look at the page 2, which was the original page, the oval, you can see it's a thinner border. And so I wanted to see what it would look like with a thicker border. I kind of like it. So I'm just bringing it to you guys tonight to see if you want to make a decision on any of these designs or not. And if you do, I have a couple of price quotes for you to consider. I envision using ARPA dollars for this project. And as an aside, we currently have a little bit less, I think it's around $93,000 and change in ARPA that's not committed to use. The current rules for ARPA states that by the end of 2024, we are to have our monies designated to be used. And by the end of 2026, to have all ARPA projects and designations spent. You might have got wind earlier this spring. There's some energy or summer. There's some energy from the Republicans in the House to try to scoff back some ARPA dollars. And I don't think it will go very far currently with the rest of the makeup of the Senate and the president. But to me, it's a canary in the coal mine that says, Vic, we should have all of our ARPA dollars not only committed, but they all should be spent in its entirety by the end of 2024. And currently, as we speak, this is a consideration that I'm bringing to you tonight. I will share another story with you that isn't even near the fire. Well, it's getting near the fire for consideration, but it's not there. I really firmly believe that we need to make a capital investment at the transfer station and upgrade the antiquated compactor that is there. And so I'm in the middle of discussions with Norm and some folks and reaching out to a couple of companies to see if I can get a price quote or two on what it would cost to outfit the transfer station with a new compactor. I think the cost of that would comfortably fit within the balance of the ARPA dollars that we currently have. But I'm nowhere near bringing this to you. I'm just giving you a couple of insights into my mind as how we would spend the rest of the ARPA money. So we have what commitments we have. This would be a new commitment. If we do the compactor thing, I think I've got a couple of other ideas from throwing a little bit more at roads and or a couple of other projects. One that includes updating the town office copier and a couple of other things. So I kind of, I'm just sharing this with you just so you can have an insight as to my current thinking. But however we go about it, I think we all should be of the mind that we need to wrap up this ARPA stuff by the end of 2024 would be my suggestion and my thought process today.
So do you want us to tell you which one we like of these?
So
What you're looking for?
the top page, again, are the new designs from Jerry. If you're asking me to share, I like the bottom one. I think the welcome one is too wordy, too muddy. I like the
kinda
plain
like
and
this.
simple.
This shape here.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that.
So that was
Top
the,
on the second page?
No, that's,
I like this shape. And this,
oh, like the posts.
yeah.
It's just
Look.
showing what's.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that top one.
Wait, the
The
oval?
rectangular one.
I like the rectangular.
I don't know, I like to believe I have nothing on my side.
She's saying she likes that.
This one's not new though, right? These ones are the new ones.
yeah, the
I
one,
agree with I like the welcome. I like that it says welcome, but it's crowded.
yeah, the one that says sign store, that's the old one. You saw this a few months ago.
Yeah, I
And
I
then
like that with.
then the one that has this, the welcome one, is the new one. And again, you don't have to accept any of these. This is the latest information, so I'm just bringing it to you. If you want me to continue to go back to the drawing board with Jerry, I certainly will. But I figured I'd at least update you as to where we're at.
That's the one I like. Oh, said she liked that one as well, the rectangular one.
The rectangular,
There's
instead of
three-
the oval, the
the
rectangle.
Three of us on this side. I don't know about that side.
Okay, so you like the rectangle. All right,
I don't know about Sunny and Rain, but I mean, I could be swayed either way, but that was the one I chose first.
okay, all right. Well, again,
I'm not.
you
it's not
guys
a
are,
hill to die on for sure, either way. But I do like the rectangle one.
so with that said,
But I like the welcome with it.
Well,
I
it's
know
crowded
it's-
on.
I
here.
know
They
it
can
is.
change it. They can make it something a little smaller or a little bigger, or
Right.
they can move this down and do welcome on here too.
Mhm.
There's lots of options. It's not.
so
I like it.
I tell you
just
what,
like it.
well, because there's no emergency on this. So I will take the rectangle back to Jerry
Mhm.
and ask for a couple of variations on the rectangle. Okay,
You said.
do you want me to try to get a different
Well,
variation on the oval as well?
I mean, I just think that's too busy first. When people are driving through, they're less words and more.
Yeah.
That's just me. I do want them to feel welcome.
Yes, so,
But-
but why do we have to say town of Mechanic Falls? Can't we say welcome to Mechanic Falls? Could we do that?
We can do anything.
Well, it's a lot of words, but I would rather have welcome than town of. I mean, I guess we're a town, but do we need to say that?
So the rectangle and the oval, take off town of and replace town of with welcome to and see what that looks like.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Now on the oval, for those that like the oval, the thin border or the thicker border? Thicker border. Okay.
I think, yeah, I do like the thicker.
I think that's one of the things that draws me to that rectangle.
Yes.
Yes, the thicker border.
Okay. All right. I have unless you guys got further comments, I got my walking orders. I know what to do.
Okay.
So we'll just table it from there.
I don't like the cedar posts.
You don't like the cedar posts? Which one's
No.
that?
They don't last.
Is that
Really
the,
don't.
is that the little ones or the tall ones?
Well, they're four by.
They're the
five.
expensive
4 by 4.
ones.
Looking at the.
Oh,
5 by 5 cedar posts. We haven't had very good luck with cedar posts on the eastern trails at all.
So you would go with pressure treated
I prefer the pressure treat. More readily available, easily replaced,
and a heck of a lot cheaper.
and a heck of a lot cheaper.
Oh, and aren't they not even using?
Instead of $100 each, they're 32.
Plastic, like.
Well, the vinyl sleeve.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
put them over pressure treated posts.
They still use,
Yeah.
yeah, they slide over the PTs.
Okay.
So my thought process on this, whenever we get this to the actual production point, is I'll have you guys approve whatever in the end. And then I'll have them produced from the sign store. And then, because I have a couple of more steps in this process, I have to work with the state on the where to put these. I need to get approval from the state on where to put these. So I figured we'd get them in-house. And then I work the approval process. And then even if it's a slow process, I'll let the boys put them up whenever we get approval and whenever they can
Well,
work it in.
We
'Cause-
wouldn't necessarily want to order some that won't have approval, right? Like if you can only
They
get
will
approval for
approve it.
10, why
They
would we
will
have
approve
12?
it.
Huh?
They will approve it.
Oh, no, it's only
Yeah,
six.
so
It's
I
12
would get
with this.
approval for the
Yeah.
design from the state after you guys,
All right,
because there's no sense me going to the state first,
right.
so.
I
So,
think
And do
that's
we
with the
have-
Placement of them.
Do you have ideas where these are going? Are these replacing something in some
so
places?
I have some general thoughts.
Yeah.
But boy, oh boy, it's not as easy as you think. Because it's got to be, it's got to be obviously in Mechanic Falls. It's got to be a certain amount of space off to the side. It's got to be up at a space that the state will approve. And you don't want other signage. The places the state would approve tend to have other signage there
Mhm.
already. So it's not as
Yeah,
it's
you just do
easy.
your due diligence. then.
And so I'm
Leave it to
gonna-
us.
I'm going to work with Scott and anybody else who's interested in hooking on a ride. I mean, I'm all ears for help and advice on this.
No, the state has a right of way.
Yeah, as long as we're within the state's right of way.
Right.
Okay, so I think we're all set on that.
Okay, tax abatements. I need to pull these up.
Let me get a drink of water. So in front of you, you have abatements that John O'Donnell, Dennis and Sarah have worked on. And so you have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 abatements that total $3,279.83. And as we alluded to before the meeting actually began, assuming this is okay with you folks, probably make a motion to accept as presented with the total amount to come out of overlay. So I think it's a mixed bag. And again, I defer to, I don't have all the information because of vacation and COVID. So I asked Sarah this morning, I said, is there a story that I really need to know about, or is this pretty much basic business? And other than the one that we alluded to earlier, that last April, it got assessed at X and it wasn't completed and shouldn't have been assessed. So that's why there's one of the stronger abatements there. As to the rest of it, I can't answer the question. I can get answers, but I don't have answers tonight.
Well, one of them, the homestead exemption was missed. And one of them became exempt because it must be a tax, the property is,
What I can tell you is obviously it was fully vetted by O'Donnell's
Yeah.
and Sarah.
yeah, there's a reason on each of them.
Oh, there is.
Yes,
Well, look at that.
there you go.
But my question is.
Doesn't really matter, does it?
Well, these ones got missed. Maybe they didn't see it. Maybe they did. Maybe this is them coming to.
I,
doing
I,
it.
I don't know each individual story, and I'm not going to BS you, so I don't know.
I mean, everybody has the right, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And if
And-
it's wrong and they approve it, that it was wrong, then.
And I
that's
think
what
it,
is.
it goes to me as I was going through this stuff. It just reaffirms you guys coming up with a little stronger overlay this year.
Which is why we did it.
Well, the reason I was asking the question is because I thought you had to do an abatement by. April first.
No,
Once we set the mill rate, what was out there was out there. People that have to find abatement.
no, anybody can apply for abatement at any time. Okay, April 1st is for state purposes. Who owns what on April 1st dictates who the tax bill is, who that property's tax bill is going to go to. Okay, it's based on April 1st. And so after we commit taxes in any municipality, after taxes are committed, tax bills go out. If somebody questions their tax bill, and you can always question your tax bill, and you go through the system. And then if you're proven right in your thought process, then paperwork is done. It goes to the council for approval, and we fix the tax.
But could we get another one? Could we get more abatements then?
You could, if more people step up to the plate and they have good cause.
Well, I know we've gotten them before. I just don't remember when it was, if it was.
Yeah,
like-
this tends to be, once people get their tax bills.
Yeah.
Tends to be the hot season,
Okay.
right?
All right, so I'd entertain a motion. You said we could do them all together as
I
presented.
have a comment.
Okay.
Vincent and Gerald and Diane. I think there's an error on that abatement form because there is no adjustment from left to right on the values.
The real total.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Oh, sorry, I'm
show
looking at
where
the
the
wrong-
Values have changed. To get to the $1,582 and 33 cents. You look across the board and they're identical. There is no adjustment.
Yeah, numbers are wrong, no.
There's a number that's not accurate there.
It says the property should have had tax stabilization. What does that mean? Do we know?
Yes, there
Oh.
was one of, yes, there was somebody who we should have had. They came in, they filled out the form in time, and they just didn't make our list.
Oh,
So it
okay.
was an oversight on the town's part.
So
So
the
that's-
levy is it's worth what it's worth, but they should have gotten.
Yeah, they should have got the stabilized thing.
that.
And so this is correcting that. Okay, good
So-
catch, Ray, though.
So
Good question.
where's the
No.
adjustment?
It's,
Just in what's owed. Well, supposedly we get it from the state.
Yes,
the
by
11
mid-January 2024.
Last legislative session, not this one, but the one before, the legislators put in a program, which was very short, I think they put it already, that allowed seniors from
Right.
like 60 whatever.
Right, they freeze the,
To freeze it.
right,
And
and that's
what
going
this
away
did.
too next year.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you got
But
it.
their
you got it.
value, the value of the land is assessed the same. It's just that they're taxed differently.
They're taxed at what last year's taxes are, vice what the would have been if that had not been there.
Yeah, so they should have been at a stabilized amount to the preceding year. They were not. They were taxed at a higher amount.
Right.
And so this backs that higher amount
But
out.
that rate doesn't reflect that, is what I'm trying to say, is we got identical columns.
Right, because that's, everything's still the same. It's just what
Yeah.
they owe us.
Yeah,
The
it's
state's
just,
gonna pay us the difference,
right.
basically.
The state's going to pick it up.
So if you
Basically-
look at that, the state's gonna come up with that $1,200.
We give it out through abatement, and we're getting it back through the stabilization program.
Okay. It's just very,
Yes, I agree.
you know,
'cause I-
deceiving the way that you know, you look through your totals and they're identical. So why is the bottom line the same, or different, I should say?
Oh, that's why, because they have done their due diligence, they filled out their form, that's what their taxes were last year,
Different
and
rate.
even though everything increased. The state promised them that their taxes for this year would not be any
Okay.
more than that.
So this revises it back to what it was, what it should. whoops.
Unfortunately,
it
the
should
next
be.
year, they're gonna get a shock.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're gonna go back. Yeah, because all the others show the reflection and the values. And you know, the bottom total real tax changes because of the reflection of the values.
yeah, it was an oversight on our part.
All right, so we're correcting our.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
I make a motion that we accept the abatements for all of the abatements submitted for an aggregate amount of $3,279.83.
Second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
thank you.
Okay, now we'd like to accept the MMA insurance reimbursement for having a good, what is it called? It's called the,
Performance and loss.
yes, the workers' compensation fund. We get a dividend payment for having a good one. So,
lack of claims.
so the total is 2461. Yes, $2,461 that we get to take back. So who'd like to make a motion that we accept that money that we probably already accepted?
It's already in the bank, but
Well, that's all right. We will make it official.
I
Yeah.
make a motion that we accept $2,461 dividend check from the Maine Municipal Association because of our good performance and loss prevention programs.
Second. He can have it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
thank you.
Now we each need to do a lot of signing.
Okay, we can do that in executive session, though, can't we? Well, we're not signing anything that's not. Anyone want to send us into executive session? And we're not, there's no voting or anything?
No, you got to vote to go into executive.
Right, but there's
session.
no vote. We're not coming out of this to vote.
No,
There's nothing to vote.
not
on.
unless there's a
You're just-
huge curveball.
You're just informing us. of
right,
this. Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good night, guys.
Did you steal my pen?
I did.
Okay.
I was a bad girl. I didn't have a pen out for him.
Oh, thank you. No, just me.
Hey,
Um.
you got a pen down there? Can I borrow your pen?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Can I
Thanks.
borrow your pen? That way she can get fun.
Okay, do you want to bring us into executive session?
Sure,
Paula?
also move.
I'm the last one in.
So did we have a motion?
I make a motion under one MRSA 4056C in economic development that we go into executive session.
Second.
Who second, Sonny? Ready?
All those in favor?
Uh,
Thank you.